Welcome to my channel, and I'm back with you once again with another video of Microsoft Flight Simulator. And today we're going to learn how to fly the Airbus A320 Neo. Although I've done some tutorials on my YouTube channel almost a year back, but still there are new things that I'm learning every day, and I just wanted to do it in this video. And plus, if you're watching it for the first time, you will see the basics of flying, and plus how to fly the Airbus A320 Neo. I will be doing a short flight that is from Karachi to Islamabad, OPKC and OPIS. Let's set the time. Flight conditions are set to all players, AI and preset. So I'm using the preset time. I'm not using the lifetime because right now when I'm doing this video, it's dark in Pakistan and I don't want to fly in the night because you miss out the scenery. We'll keep a early morning flight, let's say at 8 o'clock. It's roughly a 1 hour 40 minutes flight depending upon the weather conditions. Okay, so OPKC to OPIS, and over here in this option I will select high altitude airways and I'll go for IFR. VFR is visual flying reference and IFR is instrument flying reference. So we will be using Autopilot and ILS Approach. That's why I'm using the instrument flying reference. I'm just going to make a very basic flight plan. All the flight planning is being covered on my channel, and there are two different videos, one for Explain 11 and the one for Microsoft Flight Simulator. For Explain 11, there is a very detailed video how to make a flight plan, how to enter it into the plane, like the MCDU of the plane, which is the multifunction control display unit, and how to program the FMS. So this is already been covered on Explain video, and for Microsoft Flight Simulator, there's a basic video for the flight planning. So right now I'm not going to go into the details of that. If you want to watch that video, you can. But somehow I will just touch the basics. From Karachi airport, I will be starting the plane from the cold and dark state. The engines will not be start. That's why I have to start my flight from any of the gates. I can use, let's say, gate 48 for the departure. So I will pick gate 48 and set it as departure. Okay. So this has been set. Now the plane will start at gate 48 in the cold and dark state, and from here we'll do the pushback and just onto the runway 25 left. So I will select Melo 1F 25 left. Now you will be wondering what it is. It is actually the SID and the star. In the flight planning there are 2 points which is known as the SID, and another one is the star. SID is standard instrument departure and star is standard arrival. Okay, so what is a SID and what is a star? Actually, every flight path is connected to a SID and star which takes you to the approach of the runway. So it's a procedure how to get out of the airport and how to just land your plane at the runway. So initially the flight plan was from one point to another point direct, so you won't be able to catch the approach properly. Even right now, as I've not selected the runway and the approach, which is the star, for Islamabad airport, you can see the plane is landing directly. So if you just fly this flight, you will be straight away coming to this point like this, though you should be coming from this point or this point. So there is this point for every runway for both the sides, from for let's say 10 left and over here for 28 right or 28 left. There is a point which makes the complete and proper approach towards the runway. So we have to select that. So in Islamabad, I will be landing at runway 28 right. I will select ILS. '28 right Y. Okay, now you can see there is a proper approach, but this is kind of a long approach. I will come to this point Belko and then have to turn left from here, and then a long way to go, and then like this. So that's why I will select not this. Oh, great. So this is a good approach. Okay, so this is you can see after selecting the star there is a complete approach. So that's why we will come to this point Indec, and after this point there we will head towards the approach. And now once the plane is coming towards the runway 28 right, there will be a straight approach and the plane will land. So we have the SID and the star. Arrival is gate 48. I'm using the default Airbus A320 Neo. There have been issues with this plane in the past as well, and recently after the update, there was an issue with this plane. All the displays, the MFD, the PFD, everything was blank. There was a fix for this issue, which is there on my channel. If you're facing this issue, you can go back to that video and you can watch it. So I'm going to use the Airbus A320 Neo, and flight conditions. I have to again select the time. There's this issue in Microsoft Flight Simulator. Once you make the flight plan, the time resets. So you have to be careful. You have to keep this thing in your mind. Okay, now the nav log. The plane will be flying at 38,000 feet. I will keep it at 35,000. Not going too much high. 38,000 feet, it's difficult. 35,000 feet is okay. So you can, by going to the nav log, you can select the cruise altitude. You can select even 20,000 feet. So whatever you'll select, it will be automatically selected for the flight. Let's say if I set it at 28,000 feet, then the plane will be flying at 28,000 feet. But for this flight, I will keep it at 35. Okay, so 35,000 feet is done. Time is early morning. Airbus A320 Neo, IFR high altitude. We have the flight plan and everything good. So let's fly. Now, in this video, I will be taking you through the complete procedures. As we are starting from the gate 48, the plane will be in the cold and dark state. That is, everything will be just turned off in the plane, and we will start the plane. So I will cover the startup procedures. I will go with the pushback, ground services. Before the pushback, ground services obviously, then taxi, takeoff, then flying the plane on autopilot, descent management, and ILS approach, and then landing, and then maybe taxi towards the gate. So these are the basics that I will be covering throughout this video, and I will also learn with you guys. And if you have any valuable input, you can give it in your comment section. So here we are. This is our plane, Airbus A320. As I told you before, the plane is in the cold and dark state. The engines are turned off. All the screens and displays, everything is off. So we're going to now start the plane, and we will carry out this procedure. Initially, what I'll do is this. I will turn off the AI radio communication. The best thing about Microsoft Flight Simulator is that you can communicate with the ATC. So there are instructions coming in from the ATC. In X-Plane 11, you can turn it on, turn it off. But in Microsoft Flight Simulator, it's kind of part of the flying procedure. So you get to experience the ATC and all the commands. If you turn this option on, air radio communication, ATC, it is automatically done. But right now, I've just turned it off because till the taxi or before the takeoff, I will do every communication by myself. And then after we are at the runway, about to take off, then I will turn this option on. In Microsoft Flight Simulator, there's a checklist which you can just use to start up the plane. So I will just open the checklist from here, and we can follow the checklist. Okay, one more thing. Over here, if you go to this option, you will see how much fuel is in the plane, and what is the weight, the takeoff weight, and the payload and everything. So everything is there. So you can even check the basic information that's required for the plane. Okay, so communication turned off. First of all, let's start the plane. Oops, sorry. I'll go here. I'll click this option and you will see these buttons. Okay. You have to click them twice. I think there's this error in the Microsoft Flight Simulator. Once I turn on the battery switches, you can see all the panels are now up. You can see the voltage of the batteries, 25.4 to 25.4. So it means the batteries are up and running, and the battery is available. So once the plane is off, now we can have the basic communication. Our radio is working. We can call for the ground service and stuff like this. Okay. Then there is once the plane is parked at the gate or at the ramp, the plane uses an external power that's known as the GPU, the ground power unit. So we have to see if this external power available. So it is available. I will turn it on. Once we turn it on, all of the systems of the plane are on the external power. The air conditioning works and everything is up and running. Before the takeoff, we will go on to the APU, and before the pushback, rather, not before the takeoff, before the pushback, we will switch to APU, and after the pushback, we will start the engines. But right now, everything is good. External power is on. Engine generators, you can see fault is being displayed, so this is good. engine bleed air switches, they're on. These are the engine bleed air switches. In the Airbus A320, if a switch is on, it's black. If the switch is off, then it shows off. Okay. Now, more than enough. Then APU, we are not as going to pushback right now, so that's why APU is off right now, and we are just at the ground power. That is the GPU, ground power unit. Okay. Let's switch the view. Come over here. Open the communication. Before the IFR clearance, let's go to the ground services. Request the fuel supply.
Karachi ground, Airbus Alpha Sierra X-ray 320. Could you please send a fuel truck? Airbus Alpha Sierra X-ray 320, a fuel truck is on the road.
No need to call for the power supply because it's already there. Let's call for the baggage services.
Karachi ground, Airbus Alpha Sierra X-ray 320. Could you please send the baggage? Airbus Alpha Sierra X-ray 320, baggage is on the way.
And let's call for the catering.
Ground, Airbus Alpha Sierra X-ray 320. Could you please send the catering truck? Airbus Alpha Sierra X-ray 320, the catering truck is on the road.
Okay. Right now for this video, I won't be requesting the Jetway connection because there is an issue right now with the Microsoft Flight Simulator. As soon as I call the Jetway connection, there is an error for the door. So it keeps you keep on getting this error that door is not open. Initially, this error was not here, but now it has started to come. I haven't found a way to fix this issue, so that's why for this video, I'm just ignoring the Jetway connection. But if we just hop out of the plane, you can see the catering is here. And the luggage is here, and soon the fuel truck will be also here. It takes some time for the fuel truck to reach. So some examination of the taxiway and for the airport. This is for the runways. So this is your taxiway, and these are the two runways. This is the left and this is the right. If you're looking at the runways from this perspective, and if from this perspective, this is the left one and this is the right one. Okay. So I'm taking off from runway 28 right, which is this one, 28 right. After the pushback, I will ask the pushback tug to steer right. Right is from the pilot's perspective, because pilots are sitting in the plane in this direction, obviously. So you have to turn your plane right. So this is one thing you have to remember. You don't decide on your left and right based on this view, because if you select right, the plane will turn this way. So I will be selecting right. Okay, I hope you've got my point. Thank you. I've been able to explain it to you. So it's from the pilot's perspective. Okay, so the pushback tug is here. As soon as I'll call the pushback tug, it will just push back the plane. That's it. Nothing much to it. Fuel supply. Let's see what's the condition of the fuel supply. Okay, so this is the basic information I have. Let's go to the ATIS and get the weather information. Go back to the clearance. ATIS. When you tune into ATIS, you get the weather information. So you see the visibility, the sky condition is clear, temperature is 28 degrees, dew point is 10, altimeter 29.86. I'll switch back to ground. So altimeter is 29.86. I will set the altimeter to 29.86. So here it is. Now this is some feature. When I started flying the planes, one of the YouTubers was playing around with this barometric pressure and couldn't understand the basics. It's very simple. There are sensors in the plane, and honestly speaking, it has taken me a lot of time to understand this basic rule till the time I was flying Microsoft Flight Simulator. In the Microsoft Flight Simulator, it's explained really clearly. Okay, there are sensors in the plane, and these sensors sense the barometric pressure, and then according to that, the altitude is displayed over here on this display. Now you have to actually adjust the barometric readings in your plane in order to adjust the altimeter. If I just move it, the barometric pressure, you can see that the altimeter is adjusting. So 29.87 right now is the barometric pressure off the ground at this time, and it's 29.87. So you set your barometric pressure. Above the transition altitude, for every airport you'll see a transition altitude. After the transition altitude, you set it to standard. So you simply press, so you left click it, and then you will see three options. With the mouse wheel, you can adjust the barometric pressures, which you can just do it before as well. Then if you press on the mouse wheel, this is how it's set in my system. It is set to standard. You can see set to standard. Standard is 29.92. And if you right click, you get it back. Okay? You change the units and you get it back. So 29.87 right now is the barometric pressure. So this is what you have to set. After the transition altitude, or maybe for this video, I'll keep it at 18,000 feet. You will set it back to standard. So this was the basic of the barometric pressure. Let's check if we have the fuel. Where is the fuel truck? Here is the fuel truck. And I think it comes in very slowly. Just look at the speed of this fuel truck. Initially, when I was making this video, it was coming really fast. Anyhow, we'll just ignore that. It's coming in so slow, we don't need the fuel because plane is already refueled. So this was the basic regarding what you call the barometric pressure and everything. Okay, right now you can see there is throttle is in the climb position. This is where my throttle was during the last flight. I was doing it. Okay. Now let's get back and request the IFA clearance.
Karachi ground Airbus Alpha Sierra X-ray 320 ready to copy IFR clearance to Oscar Papa India Sierra. Airbus Alpha Sierra X-ray 320 is cleared to Oscar Papa India Sierra Airport as filed. Takeoff runway 25 left climb and maintain 14,000 feet. Departure frequency is 126.5 squawk 1474.
Okay, initially I said 28 right. I think in my video it is the runway is 25 left. Sorry for this confusion, but the runway is 25 left. So it will be, if I go out, it will be this runway. 25 left. This is 25. This is 25 right, and this is 25 left because we are taking off in this direction. Yes. Read back and acknowledge. Okay.
Airbus Alpha Sierra X-ray
Let's get back.
320 cleared to Oscar Papa India Sierra Airport as filed. Takeoff runway 25 left climb and maintain 14,000 feet.
So with the mouse wheel, I will adjust the altitude over here. That's 14,000 feet. That's it.
320 read back correct.
Okay. Let's see what's the condition of the fuel truck. I think refueling is done. Good. We don't see the fuel truck anymore. Let's get back to the inside and let's go to ground services. Request pushback, fuel supply done, everything is done. So I'll request for the pushback, but before the pushback, we have to disconnect the plane from the GPU, that is the ground power unit, and turn on the APU. So let's get back to the checklist. And let's go here. APU switch on, check. APU start. Let's turn on the APU. APU is auxiliary power unit. So before the takeoff, the plane gets on the APU, and during the pushback, all the air conditioning, all the systems, lighting, everything is powered through the APU. And after the pushback, when you start the engines, you turn off the APU, and the plane then gets the power from the engines. So APU is like kind of an auxiliary power unit, which is used after disconnecting from the ground power unit, because obviously you cannot fly with the ground power unit. Otherwise, a truck will be hanging with the plane during the flight. So you have to disconnect. And if you disconnect the power from the truck, the engines are not started. So obviously you'll have another issue. So that's why we turn on the APU. So we will wait for the available sign to get lit on this on the APU. So it is available. Now I will turn on the APU bleed, and this is the APU bleed. Check. Okay, now you can hear the APU getting started, and that's it. External power, we'll turn it off. Fuel pumps on. Okay. Check, and then beacon. So this is the switch for the beacon. I will turn it on. Beacon is basically a light with red lights, I think, if I'm not wrong. These are red lights which turn on, which tells the ground crew at the tarmac that the plane is about to start its engines. So this is important to turn on the beacon so that everybody knows now the pushback will start. And okay, So this is all done. I will not start the engines right now, and parking brakes, I will release the parking brakes to move, because if the parking brakes are on, the tug will not be able to push back the plane. So request pushback.
Karachi ground Airbus Alpha Sierra X-ray 320 requesting pushback.
Now we will go out and we will see. You can see the pushback tug is getting connected to the plane. Okay. Now the yellow lines are basically a direction, and the plane actually moves on these yellow lines in the taxiways. So up till this point, the plane will get pushed back. Then after this point, maybe I'll ask the pushback tug to steer right. Yes. So I will just get in this cockpit and just keep an eye over here. So the brakes are off. Let's keep the throttle in the idle position. We don't need that. Brakes are off, and you can see the plane is now moving. Let's keep this option on. I will not turn on the plane engines right now because we have to keep an eye on the pushback. I don't want to miss that. After the pushback, once we are aligned with that yellow line, try to align the plane with that. Because over here you can see the options. We have to call for the tug to push back left or right. Okay. So this is how the pilots see when they are sitting in the cockpit. I think they don't have to tell the tug to steer left or right in the real life, because the tug knows where to go and to directly align with that yellow line for the taxiways. But now I will ask it to turn right.
Karachi ground Airbus Alpha Sierra X-ray 320 requesting pushback tug to steer the aircraft to the right.
Okay, now turning right. You keep on practicing the pushbacks, and after some time I think you will get expert. You know when to call it right or left, so that you are perfectly aligned with the line. I will try to be as close as I can. I think I've missed it. It was a slight delayed call. Sorry for that. Anyhow, ignore this. Just trying to. Okay, now it's stop. Request the pushback to stop.
Airbus Alpha Sierra X-ray 320 requesting the end of pushback. Airbus Alpha Sierra X-ray 320.
Turn on the parking brakes. Let's go out and see what has happened, where we are right now. I shouldn't have been on this line, but still, I should have been over here. So I could have called it early. Anyhow, but you can see, oh, such a great call. It's on that. Okay, now let's start the engines and let's get back into the cockpit. Get the checklist and turn on the engines. Thrust levers already set to idle. Engine mode selector to normal. That's it. And now turn on the engine 2. This is how the plane is started. First of all, the engine 2 is started and then 1. And if you are flying a 4-jet engine, let's say 747 or A380, it's like 4, 3, 2 and then 1. So we'll start the engine 2, then engine 1. I will wait for the engine to stabilize at 60. When N2 is 60, then it's stable. Engine 2 is stable, and then we'll start engine 1. Let's go out. And you can see the engine 2 is starting. Okay. And it will stabilize. The engine power is at 7%. Nice graphics. You can see the heat coming out of the engines. Okay, let's get back into the cockpit and see 55 N2 is It will stabilize at 60. Okay, 59.8. Okay. Now engine 1. Let's go out and see what is happening with engine 1. So engine 1 is also running. I will wait for it to stabilize. Okay. And I think we can take the flaps right now. Lower the flaps by 2 notches. 1, you can see, and 1 plus F. Oops, sorry. 1 plus F. So I'll keep it at 1 plus F. Okay, so you can see, is it 1 plus F? Let's see. Yes, 1 plus F. Sorry. Actually, I'm using the mouse, so which is like 25%. If you left click in the mouse, you will see it setting. It's 25%. So 1 plus F. So now you can see that okay, you can see the engines are now stable, and now we can go for the taxi. Flaps done. Parking brakes, we can release them after we get the clearance for the taxi. Okay, and let's turn on the taxi lights, seatbelt signs. We should have turned them on before the pushback. Nav lights on, wing lights. We don't need them in the morning anyhow. Beacon light is on. Strobe lights, let's set them to auto. That's it. And now let's go to the tower and go back to clearance. Request taxi. IFR.
Karachi ground Airbus Alpha Sierra X-ray 320 with Tango ready to taxi IFR. Airbus Alpha Sierra X-ray 320 taxi to and hold short of runway 25 left via taxiway Alpha. Contact tower on 118.3 when ready.
So we have got the clearance, and now I will taxi, release the parking brakes, which I have done it before. And now I'm giving some throttle to the engine, some power. And you can see the plane is moving. The taxi speed is not more than 20 knots. I will turn left, initially, and then turn right. Okay, I have to acknowledge this. Oops. Let's turn on the AI communication with the ADC. So now I don't have to worry about that. Now everything will be done by AI. Using the rudder to steer the plane left or right on the runway. I'll just hold short of runway 25 left. You can see the line is dividing. This one is going towards right runway, and this is going towards the left. So I will turn on the left. You will see this yellow line. Just stop before this line. Reduce your throttle. Brakes. Turn on the parking brakes. Eight. Okay, so So flaps 1 plus F. Altimeter is set at 14,000 feet. And speed will be 230 knots below 10,000 feet. I will set the speed. It takes some time. Just bear with me. Should have done this before. Anyhow. So once I engage the autopilot after the takeoff, the plane will fly at 230 knots below 10,000 feet, and after 10,000 feet we will increase the speed. Release the parking brakes. We have flaps, altitude set, everything looking good. Let's take this plane up in the air. I will give full power to the engines, full throttle. You can see Toga written over here. So if I show you the throttle, it's at the full power. To go around Toga. Sorry for this issue. Actually, my controller, the stick that I'm using, it's Creative 3D Max. I've been using it for a very long time, and it has some issues. My rotate is at 150. Not my rotate, the plane's rotate. 150 we'll take off, so it's rotate. And after the positive climb rate, gears up. Okay, now I will tell you afterwards how I calculated the V1 and VR. Okay. Okay, so everything is looking good so far. You can see the speed of the plane is increasing, and after this green dot I can retract the flaps. At 1500 feet I will reduce the throttle to climb, and I will adjust the vertical speed. I will rather reduce the vertical speed or the climb rate in order to compensate for the speed. As I reduce the throttle, you can see the speed was reducing. That's why I have to just slightly reduce the climb rate in order to compensate for the speed. The speed has to increase. So you can see this is over here. The throttle is set to climb after 1500 feet. Okay. Now I will turn on the autopilot. Auto throttle is on. And I will just tell you the basics on my way to Islamabad about the time to take back the flaps. Okay, now everything is good. I will just adjust the throttle a bit. I will keep it at climb over here, you can see, and it's also written over here. So initially it was Toga, now it is at climb. While climbing, the throttle should be set at climb, and it's roughly 84.8% power. Okay. There are actually two settings for the Airbus planes. One is the managed mode, and another one is the selected mode. Right now, my navigation is on the managed mode, and the altitude and the speed is on the selected mode. What is the difference between the managed mode and the selected mode? Managed mode is whatever the information is entered into the MCDU, The plane flies according to that. That's the managed mode. Let's say this waypoint Malam says that, or rather, let's look at this waypoint SK. SK says that you should be at 246 knots, 2500. It's not, I think it's not correct. Okay, let's go back. I'll just show you. You can just navigate up. I'll show you. Okay, now you can see, I think the speeds are not properly updated, but it should not be 428 knots. It's roughly 320 knots, or speed should come in mark. But it's showing that the flight level 350 means 35,000 feet. That's the cruising altitude, and the plane should be at what speed and what altitude. So this is the managed mode. So once the flight plan is entered into the MCDU of the plane knows what speed it should be at different, and altitude it should be at different waypoints. So these are the waypoints. You can see it over here on the screen. So the plane automatically manages the speed and the altitude according to that and sets the vertical speed. So that's the managed mode. In the selected mode, whatever the speed I will tell the plane, or the FMS, the flight management system, or the altitude, the plane will fly according to that. So right now navigation is done automatically. It's on the managed mode. You can see heading. You can select the heading and then you can fly on the selected mode. But right now I'm going on the managed mode. Sorry for this, I just hit the mic in excitement. Now we are above 10,000 feet. I will increase the speed to 280. Left click and then I will press the wheel, mouse wheel, and the plane will now fly at 280 knots as I have given a selected speed over here. So now the plane is climbing to 14,000 feet. So the both are in selected mode, whereas the heading is in the engaged mode, or the managed mode. Sorry, not the engaged mode, the managed mode. It will fly according to the flight path. You see this blue arrow, it means the plane will be at 14,000 feet when we will reach this point. Very simple. The autopilot is simple. After the takeoff, you turn on the autopilot, turn on the auto throttle, and just give the altitude and the speed, and that's it. Okay. Right now we can also set the altimeter to standard. Left click and then press on the mouse wheel, and you see standard is being shown. Standard is 29.92, but showing standard. So after adjusting the altitude, I will then again press left and then mouse wheel, I will press on that, and the plane will again start to climb to 24,000 feet. The speed is at 280 knots. Or what we can do is this, we can also left click on the speed and right click, and you will see this now orange button coming up. It means this a dot, not a button, a dot, which means that now the plane will fly at the given speed as per the MCDU, or the information of the different waypoints. So the speed will increase. So the autopilot now will adjust automatically the speed at 320 knots. This is where the plane should be at. So now the heading is managed by the autopilot, the speed is managed by the autopilot, and the altitude is managed by me. So altitude is selected and heading and speed is managed. So now the speed will automatically get adjusted as per different waypoints and different altitudes, but I will be adjusting the altitude myself. We can also go for the managed altitude mode, but right now no need to do that, because maybe the plane goes above 25,000 or 24,000 feet, and then you'll start hearing error from the ATC that you have to descend to the given altitude. So that's why I always go for the selected altitude, but for the speed and for the heading, obviously, I go with the managed mode. So this was the basic for the autopilot. Everything is looking good so far. Flaps 0%, no air brakes, gears up, basic settings done. Runway lights off, landing lights retracted, taxi lights are set to taxi, so I will turn them off. Navigation logo lights on, wing lights off, beacon lights on, we don't need beacon anymore, and strobe lights set to auto, smoking on, seat belts, let's turn it off. Let's allow the passengers to stretch their legs. So now we are climbing to 24,000 feet, that is flight level 240. I am always confusing that. Okay, it's not 2400, flight level 240 or 24,000 feet. Okay, now initially just go to this option performance. Okay, let me just so you can see it's managed, speed is managed, and altitude is selected. Approach settings, we don't need them. If you want to go around, then you have to activate the options from here. Performance, everything is good. Okay, just checking a few things in the MCDU. Right now, I haven't done a video on the MCDU for this plane, but I'm planning to do that maybe today or tomorrow. I will also tell you how to program the MCDU. But over here in the performance option, you will see the VR, V1 and V2 for the plane. Generally for this flight, it was 150 knots. If you want to see what is the no, I think it's visible. I'll show you which option. I always forget. No, objectives. Yep. If you go into the flight assistant, you will see takeoff speed 151 knots, landing speed 200 knots, stall speed is 154. So as I told you before that while taking off, there was VR, rotate, and I just know from here 150. With this given weight, balance, and with the fuel, it's 150 knots for this Airbus A320 Neo. But if you don't know, you can just go to this performance option and you can just check it from there. Or maybe you can just select it from here and you can see the landing and the takeoff speed. I think landing speed is coming really high. It should be 140. Anyhow, I will disregard that. So now we are at 20,000 feet. The speed is managed by the autopilot. The vertical speed is adjusted by the autopilot. The navigation is done by the autopilot. However, I am selecting the altitude myself. Every time we have a new altitude given by the ATC, I set the altitude and then I go with the the select altitude mode, or not the managed one. Okay. At 20,000 feet, let's get back to the external view. So we just took off from here, from the sea. We just turned back towards Islamabad. Now we're flying over Pakistan, heading towards Islamabad. Let's look at the map. Long way to go. So this is the flight path, and here is Islamabad. The new airport of Islamabad is OPIS. Okay, so landing at 28. Right, that's it. Nothing much, nothing less. These are the basics. If you follow these points, obviously you will be able to fly it. If you are watching this video for the first time, or you are new to the flight simulation, if you are an experienced person in flight simulation, I think this is not the right video for you, because I just go with the very basic standards, very basic rules. I don't get into so much technicalities because I'm still in the learning phase. That's why I've labeled this video as learning to fly the Airbus A320. So I'm also learning with you. Every time when I'm doing a video, I'm learning new things. And obviously you guys are also learning new things. And if you have something to add to this video, do comment it in the comment section, and I'd really appreciate that. Okay, so we're at right now 22,500 feet, and you can see the vertical speed is reducing. Now it's increasing between 700 and 1,000 feet per minute. It will stabilize at 24,000 feet, and then I think we will get a clearance to climb up to 31,000 feet. Oh, so there is turbulence. Wow. There's right now turbulence in the flight. Is it shaking badly or not? Yes, there is turbulence. Okay. I can turn on the seatbelt sign on. There is turbulence. Okay. So 23,400 feet. The plane will be leveling off at 24,000 feet. Very simple. No rocket science. Needs some practice. Obviously, when you will try it for the first time, you have to practice that. But once you practice, everything will be good. Now, level off at 24,000 feet. And I'll wait for the ATC to tell me a new altitude. 330. So I will change the altitude from 24,000 to 33,000, and then left click and press on the mouse wheel button, and to engage the selected mode, and then the plane now should start climbing. It should start. Let's do it again. Now you can see the plane is now climbing. 600 feet per minute. 700 feet per minute. The vertical speed is automatically set. Although I can just input the vertical speed from here, but vertical speed right now is also managed by the Autopilot. So the speed, the heading, and the vertical speed is managed by the Autopilot. It's only the altitude that I'm setting manually. So that's why we are flying at selected mode, not at the engaged mode. Managed mode. Sorry, I always call it the engaged mode. Oh, there is a lot of turbulence. There is turbulence. So I will wait for 33,000 feet, and then we'll get back to you once I'm at 33,000 feet. Right now the plane is leveling off at 33,000 feet, and I'm flying the plane on adjusted selected speed mode. I'm always calling it adjusted selected speed mode. I've set it to 0.78 Mach. Above 30,000 feet, you have to select your speed to Mach, and this is how you change your units. So right now it is at 0.78 Mach. Okay, so we have a clearance for 35,000 feet. So I will select 35,000 feet, left click, and then I will press the mouse wheel button, and the plane will start to climb up again. There is some issue right now in the plane, in the Microsoft Flight Simulator, I think, with the Airbus A320. Till yesterday it was working perfectly all right, but today when I'm trying, there is some issue with the climb. I don't know. It's not been able to maintain the altitude and the speed the way it should. I don't know why this issue is happening. You can see that if I click on the left mouse button and I press on the wheel, the plane should start to climb. Now it is climbing. But it somehow today there is some issue. If you see this blue arrow, the plane should level off at 35,000 feet. At this arrow, 2,000 feet to go. The speed is at 0.78. Once I'm at this altitude, then I will go back to the selected speed mode rather than the managed speed mode rather than the selected speed mode. In Boeing, it's if you're flying Boeing planes, 787, 747 or 737, it's known as the VNAV, the vertical navigation. But over here in this Airbus A320, it's selected mode or managed mode. So the speed is right now set by me. I'm setting the speed, not the plane. And the altitude I'm setting. The vertical speed is automatically selected by the autopilot depending upon the speed of the plane, because obviously if it's a steep climb, the speed of the plane will reduce and eventually the plane will stall. The altimeter is set to standard above 18,000 feet. I set it to standard, or maybe it's after the transition altitude. Right now you can see there is some issue happening. I don't know why today. I've tried to restart my computer as well, and this is for the third or the fourth time I'm recording this video, and this issue is occurring. I made a video initially for almost an hour. This thing was happening. Maybe I thought I'm doing something wrong, but after 2 or 3 attempts, I'm still seeing this issue with the vertical speed and with the speed. The plane is not climbing. I hope we don't face this issue during the descent, but somehow I'll just try to manage it. Let's see on the map where we are right now. If I select GPS tracking, I can track the plane. Some good distance to cover, but anyhow, we are just nearby. And if I change, yes, I cannot see Islamabad right now. So maybe after this waypoint, KSBI, Kaspi, I will be able to see that. The next waypoint is Rajan, and the plane will now level off at this point. (10 nautical miles, 20 nautical miles, 30 nautical miles). So I think within the next 15 nautical miles, and the plane should be at 35,000 feet. Speed is good. So at this altitude, I will change the speed to managed mode. Right now I'm flying at selected mode. Now, roughly 700 feet to go. Finally, we are at 35,000 feet. That's why I refrained from going up to 38,000 feet or 40,000 feet, because there is an issue with the Microsoft Flight Simulator. I don't know why this thing keeps on happening again and again. Yesterday when I was trying this flight, it was perfectly alright. So today when I decided to make the video, we have this issue. Anyhow, I'm trying to keep it as close as much as I can to the real life, but obviously I'm not a real life pilot. Obviously I will be skipping and missing out on few points, but still for the basic flying, for the basic flight management, I think this video is more than enough. If you are a beginner, Now you can see this altitude sign is highlighted with the star. It means plane is about to level off. Speed is navigation, altitude and speed all set by Autopilot. You can see all this option coming here. And now it's time to level off at 35,000 feet. Good. Finally, it's here. If this issue was not here, the plane would have been at 35,000 feet way back. But I don't know why today this thing is happening. I'll just try to have try 2 or 3 more flights today to see if this issue is persistent or not. Okay, so the plane is at now cruising altitude. And I can go with the managed speed mode. So I will left click this button and then right click. So now the speed will be managed by the Autopilot. So right now speed is managed by the Autopilot. The altitude is set. That is set by me. And the heading is set by the Autopilot. So now I will wait for the ATC to give me clearance for the descent. And as soon as I have the clearance for the descent, I will start the descent towards Islamabad airport. I think there is some ground to cover right now. So I will be back once we have a clearance for the descent. We have the clearance from the ATC to start the descent. So right now the descent should be at flight level 210, that is 21,000. So let's set the altimeter to 21,000. Left click and then I will press the mouse wheel and the plane will start to descend. Yesterday when I was trying this flight, somehow the Autopilot missed this approach. So I adjusted the heading manually. If today this thing happens, then I think I will also be able to show you how to adjust the heading manually. But hopefully today this thing will not occur. Let's see. 21,000. So right now the plane is at 34,000 feet. The speed is getting controlled by the Autopilot, as I have selected the engaged managed mode. Thrust is almost in the idle position because the plane is descending at a very high rate. It's 2,600 feet per minute, 33,000 feet. So the descent management of Airbus A320 is really good. It descends to the desired altitude in a very high speed, so it's really good. You are not at a higher altitude while approaching the runway, so it's easy to control, easy to manage. 21,000 feet. Let's close this off. Let's just get out of the cockpit and admire the scenery. Slightly cloudy. This is a new camera angle. Okay, so let's open the map and try to figure it out. Here we are. This is OPLA Lahore. If you're flying to Lahore, this is the runway to land. This is OPST Sialkot. OPRN is the old airport. This map is slightly off. If I'm not wrong, OPRN is not here. It should be somewhere here. I don't know. I have to check the map. Maybe I'm confusing the map a little bit. Okay, so now below 30,000 feet, you can see the speed is good. It's at 240. At 230 knots, I can take the flaps. But right now, if I take the flaps, extend the flaps, the speed will automatically reduce. So we don't have to worry about that. At 230, I can take the flaps if the speed keeps on reducing, but it's above 240 right now. 6 more thousand to go. Everything is looking good so far. Slight issues while the plane was climbing to the given altitude. I hope the descent is good. There is no issue in the descent. In deck. So from in deck, the plane will turn left. Oh, I forgot to turn on the flight director. Let's turn on the flight director. The flight director has to be turned on. Small mistake. Okay, so you can see while descending, it's flight level 210, and during the climb, the altitude was shown here. So if the altitude is shown here, it means the plane is descending. A simple check. 25,000 feet, 4,000 more to go. $1,000 feet to go. 21,900, 21,800, and soon we will be hearing another altitude from the tower, from the ATC. Okay, so that's it.
Airbus 320 descent and maintain 13,000 feet.
13,000 feet. So left click and then press the mouse wheel, and the plane will further descend. Let's go out and enjoy the scenery. I've been flying through Flynas. It's an airline for Saudi, and my first flight was with Flynas in the Airbus A320 Neo, and it was a nice flight. It's a nice plane. I've been flying through Airbus A320 a lot through Etihad, because Etihad operates on Airbus A320 from Abu Dhabi to Islamabad. So A320 is the plane that I've been flying a lot. A320, 21, 19. So these three different planes have been flying on that route. I've been taking those flights a lot, and while traveling by Flynas, I get a chance to fly by A320 Neo. Hardly, I think, 3 or 4 flights. It's a good experience. It's been a long time now. I haven't flown through Airbus A320. My previous flights have always, this year, all the flights have been on 777 300. Yeah. I went from Saudi Arabia to Pakistan on 777 300 by Saudi Airline. Then while coming back, I took Emirates 777 300. Yeah, so it's been a long time. Turbulence. No, turn. I thought it's turbulence. But I think it's windy. Let's go inside and check how windy it is. So wind is 29 knots from 283 degrees. So there is a strong wind. Yes, it's windy. Wind at 25 knots from 286. So it will be a headwind, not an issue. Hopefully today the plane will not miss the approach. Yesterday there was an issue, so I had to manually adjust the heading and then fly towards the runway. It worked out. Today hopefully it will not happen, but if it happens it's good, because then I will be able to cover the heading selection as well, how to fly this Airbus A320 on selected heading, not on the managed heading. So 14,000 feet, speed is still above 240. If the autopilot takes it below 230, then or 230, I will then can extend the flaps. Otherwise, we can do it manually, adjust the speed to 220 and get the flaps. I will do a full flap landing. It's very easy to land the Airbus A320 Neo if you have full flaps. You can easily speed the control. Now, I think it will fly for some time at 13,000 feet and then I think get another altitude. Yes, the plane will fly for some time at 13,000 feet and then I think after certain waypoint we will 8,000 feet. So we have new altitude, left click and then press the mouse wheel and the plane will further start to descend. Before the stern I will reduce the speed to 220 knots and get the flaps. If the speed is not reduced automatically. If I go to the flight plan, okay, so the next waypoint is PUNOP, Punop. I think the speed is given in Mach. No, the speed unit is not Mach. I don't know. Some error in the speed right now. Altitude is good. If I turn on the constraints, you will see the altitude at different waypoints. So we should be at 8,000 feet over here, 6,000 feet, 5,000 and so on and so forth. So this constraint really helps you. Two more thousand to go. Now hand over to Starboard approach.
Going to 121.65 Airbus A320. Islamabad approach Airbus Alpha Sierra X-ray 320 is passing 9,600 feet, descending 8,000 feet. Airbus Alpha Sierra X-ray 320 Islamabad approach altimeter 30.00.
So I think as we are at the transition altitude, that's why. Set barometer pressure to QNH. Okay, so 30.00. Let's set the altimeter 30.00. You can see it is here 30.00. So now our altimeter of the plane is synchronized with the ATC. So I think the transition altitude is like 10,000 or 9,000 for Islamabad. Descend and maintain 5,000. Okay. By this waypoint, the plane should be at 5,000 and then the final approach. Good. So everything is good so far. I hope the landing is good today. Yesterday night when I was trying this flight, my landing was really good. Otherwise, I'm not good at landings. But yes, yesterday it was a good landing. I really liked my skills. It was a smooth one. The plane is descending at 1,500 feet per minute. Speed has now reduced. I can take the flaps. You can see the speed is now reducing automatically, slightly above 180 because now I've got flaps. Flaps are required to give additional lift to the plane at lower speeds, otherwise the plane will stall. And you can see the descent rate has also increased because now we have flaps, so the plane can descend at a higher speed, and the speed is also controlled. The landing speed is 140 knots for Airbus A320, so we have to be at 140 knots. Before this, after this waypoint, I think I can have full flaps. Okay. So ISDOR and BTR15, then CF28, right? So leveling off at 5,000. Everything is good. You can see the Margila Mountains of Islamabad. Here are the mountains. Look really beautiful when it's raining. Such a nice and beautiful plane. Look at the graphics. You can really see the flaps out. The airport is on the left side. One more turn and about to land. wind direction has changed. At lower altitude at 5,000, it's yeah, very light wind, 03 from 55 degrees. So initially I was thinking it's going to be a headwind, but now it's the tailwind, I think, if I'm not wrong. Let's see. One more turn, and we are aligned with the runway.
Airbus 320 descend and maintain 3,700 feet.
3,700. Let's change the unit and
Descend and
700.
maintain 3,700 feet Airbus 320.
So by moving this black dial, you can set the units to 100 or 1000. Right now, when I was changing the altitude, it was changing in the increments of 1000 or decreasing in the increments of 1000. But now it's at 100. So now you can adjust it accordingly. 3,700. The left turn, yes, this time there was no issue in the navigation. The plane is following the flight path clearly. Can we see the runway? No, I cannot see it. Anyhow, let's just wait for it. .5 nautical miles radius, 7.5 nautical miles. 20. So it's roughly 14 nautical miles away, the runway. The plane is leveled off at 3,700 feet. Now it's time to turn on the ILS so that we can see the ILS approach. Now once I've pressed this button ILS, you will see these two diamonds, the vertical and horizontal alignment with the runway. So right now runway is slightly far. It's not properly aligned with the runway. I think once I'll hit the approach mode, then it will be up. So once you're near the runway, you press this ILS approach and then the ILS approach will start. Okay. And you can see the ILS frequency 110.70. You can manually enter it over here in the radio communication, but it's automatically done. Remove the cover, press nav, and then press ILS. You will see 110.70. Then you can take the cover back again. 110.70. So this ILS frequency is automatically entered, but if it is not automatically entered over here, you can just manually adjust it with this dial, and you can adjust the ILS frequency. So we have the ILS frequency. Here is the runway. When this let's get the full flap so that the speed is reduced. Full. You will see the speed is reducing, and as soon as this diamond is over here in the middle, I will press this approach button, and the plane will start to follow the glide slope and will land. Here you go. So now you will see as soon as I hit the approach button, the plane has started to descend, and now it is also aligning itself with the runway. You can see it was not aligned with the runway over here as well. So the glide slope is being properly followed, but the alignment was slightly off. I think the plane will now, yes, is adjusting itself. It's aligning itself with the runway. The speed is now under control. It's 140 because I got the full flaps. That's why the autopilot reduced the speed. So everything is good so far. We're slightly off the runway. I will try to correct it. Let's get the gears. Beautiful scene. The gears are down. You can see we are slightly off the runway. Anyhow, I will just right now at 1000 feet I will disengage the autopilot and disengage the auto throttle. We have to disengage the auto throttle because if you don't disengage it, then you won't be able to control the throttle of the plane. 2300 feet to go. No, we are coming in straight. So the wind is from this direction at 6 knots from 6 degrees, 5 degrees. So crosswinds, I think that's the issue. Oh, slightly off because of the wind, I think. The altimeter is not correct. Oops. Shouldn't have happened. Shouldn't have happened. It was a terrible landing. I'm glad you guys were not in this plane. There was slight roll. Okay, so I'm just trying to perfect my landings, but anyhow, that's bad. That's really bad.
320.
So what I'll do right now is I will contact the ground services and I will try to go to clearance, request taxi to gates. Okay.
Islamabad ground, Airbus Alpha Sierra X-ray 320 taxi to the gate.
Airbus Alpha Sierra X-ray.
Let's turn on the assistance and landing and taxi guides. Okay, so now we have got clearance for the gate.
6 via taxiway Alpha Airbus 320.
A very rough landing, although the flight has been good. A very rough landing. I don't know. I was just at the end, I was checking. I think there is some issue with the altimeter. It was saying 100, but showing 1700. I don't know. Something happened. Something happened. Something is wrong. Slightly took this turn at a high speed. I shouldn't have been at a high speed. Anyhow, I'm practicing my landings and hopefully you guys will also practice your landings. When I'm not recording the video, my landings are good. But when I'm recording a video, my landings are terrible. It happens. Actually, I'm using Extreme 3D controller. Maybe I think it's time to change the controller. It's time to get a new one. Or maybe a proper yoke. So, moving towards the gates for parking. And heading towards the domestic terminals. On the right side, it's international terminals. And over here, these are the domestic terminals for Islamabad International Airport. Graphics are nice. It really feels like I'm in Islamabad right now. No, the altimeter is good, obviously. It's Islamabad is 1700 feet above the sea level. Got slightly confused. As I told you, I'm not really an experienced or seasoned pilot. All I'm doing is just learning from the flight simulation. So at times there are a few things that I get confused. But as the ground elevation of Islamabad the International Airport is at 1700 feet, which is the height from the sea level. That's why You can see 1700. I thought it would get 0. I don't know why I was thinking that. Anyhow, on the right side you can see this box. This is where we have to stop and park. Every time after the bad landings, I really think of doing this flight again, but I've spent so much time on this flight, almost 2 hours. Next time I'll make sure the landing is good. But this time, this landing was, I think, I'll give 0 by 10. It was the worst landing I've ever done in the flight simulation. So here we are. I always turn on the taxi guides. It's easy to find your way. Otherwise, if you want to find the taxiway and the gate, you have to refer to the charts and read all the signs on the runway. But I find it easy by turning on the guides for the taxi. And here we are. Turn on the parking brakes, turn off the engines, and that's it. This is a good flight. Did it on 5th of November and with a bad landing. Okay, thank you very much for staying with me. Hopefully you would have learned a few things or the flight basics from this flight. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, do subscribe to my channel. I keep on doing different videos and I will keep on bringing more updates for you. If you have any questions, just type it down in the comment section and I will answer that question. Thank you very much for staying with me. Hope to see you soon.